Hello, we are live with EANM TV from the EANM Congress. My name is Roy Shepherd. I went outside half an hour ago. My word, it's hot out there. We've got a lot for you in the show today. We've been getting some great feedback. People have been saying that they've been catching it either live or on catch-up and finding it very, very helpful and very useful. Our topic at the beginning of the show today is about the Technologists Awards, which is used to encourage nuclear medicine technologists to present the abstract of their research project. There have been 4 EANM Technologists Awards granted during this Congress. Been joined by 2 people, Andrea Santos, who I'll talk to in a moment, who we met years ago for the first time, didn't we? And also Dmitry Beyder, who is the radiology program manager at Barnes-Jewish Hospital in the US, and also president of the SNMMI TS. So Dmitry, very warm welcome to you. You've been working together, you're talking to each other, thankfully in the same language, which is great. What would you say are the advantages of collaborative position papers and the work on diagnostic and therapeutic nuclear medicine technologist work?
Sure, and thanks a lot for inviting me here to this conference and having an opportunity to present and to listen to some great talks. So there are great advantages to it. I actually had the pleasure of meeting Andrea and some of the EANM leadership from the technology section last year. And really, with my time with these guys, in about a year, we've got a couple different things that are moving along. The advantages are that if you figure out how to work together globally, and you figure out how to publish papers together and agree on how to do the same type of work. So when you talk about Theranostics, we're talking about how you do imaging on a patient, you're talking about how you treat a patient. And so if you think about it, if we can combine multiple countries together and we can figure out how our staff and the technologists, the physicians, the physicists can all work together to take care of the patient and do research along the same lines, what ends up happening is that, number one, the patient is at a huge benefit and advantage because patients are getting care in the same way, in the high level of care, regardless of where they go. And then the second part of it is that the profession, the work that Andrea and I do to support the technologists, we want to make sure long term that a technologist can be here in Europe, they can be in the United States, and they can be in other parts of the world, and they will perform to a high level regardless of where they are.
All right, how do nuclear medicine experts take a more active role in theranostics?
So what we have in the United States is we have the technologist that supports the therapy. We have the authorized user or the physician that is the one that actually prescribes the medicine for
So it's different.
It's
Okay.
It's a little different, but those are actually the things that Andrea and I and the team are working on, because really at the end of the day, the more we can get our nuclear medicine technologists to work up to their scope, up to their training, to their curriculum, whether you are in Portugal or in the United States, the more likely you are to make sure that you can relieve nurses of different duties and can have them working up to their scope. And then you can have your physicians working to their scope. We now live in a world where we have workforce challenges for all the different professions. I mean, there are workforce challenges for physicians, there are workforce challenges for nurses, and there are workforce challenges for technologists. So what Andrea and I are working on is trying to figure out how can we build education, training, and then the competencies that go with technologists actually being able to do the work. And if we can get our technologists to work up to the level of their training, then the nurses can have more specific work that they're experts in, and the physicians can do what they're experts in. And at the end of the day, everybody's working at a higher level, and the burnout is something that ends up going down.
Okay. What are you learning in the US about how it's done in Europe? And I'll ask you the other side of the question as well.
Well, it's nice to have a good friend like Andrea and Agata and some of the other governance folks from the EANM, because they have been teaching us. And actually, just yesterday, both Andrea and I gave a talk, and it was eerily similar how we go through the challenges and how we work on those challenges. But it was also quite exciting to see that we have different challenges, and we have to work on addressing them in different ways. So what we're learning is that there are different ways to teach the technologists to work to their scope. And actually what I'm learning is that in Europe, if you're in one country, it's different than if you're in a different country.
Yeah.
And so it's been quite exciting because the way that technologists are trained in Austria are different than the way that they're trained in Spain. That's what I found out last year. But the fact is that we are in a collaborative relationship. We're figuring out how education happens, and we're figuring out how certification happens. And then we're also figuring out whether the EANM comes in or the Society of Nuclear Medicine comes in, is that there's an association part of it. So if we can put it all together, then really the professional benefits from it, but the other part is we keep coming back to the patient, because the patients travel. Patients travel to different parts of the world to get treatment, to get diagnostic imaging. If the way that Andrea provides medicine in Portugal is similar to the way that I provide medicine in St. Louis, the patient at the end of the day is going to be the one that benefits the most.
Okay, so what are your impressions of coming to Europe and to this Congress?
Well, I'll tell you, the impression is a little bit easier this year than it was in Barcelona last year.
Why?
It's last year when I came and there was thousands and thousands of people, it was a lot to take on, a lot to take in. And when I was going to the talks and different seminars last year, what was interesting is that, wow, it opened up my eyes. I really understood that there's really many different ways to provide the same medicine that we provide. And so this year it's a little bit easier because I've made some friends, and because I also come here with an expectation of the fact that be open to the fact that you can do prostate imaging one way or a different way. Be open to the fact that a physicist in one facility, whether they're in Japan or the United States, can do things differently. It's been first of all very humbling, and second of all, taking a lot of notes. I have my iPad with my pencil, and I keep writing things down because I'm going to bring this stuff back, and we're going to try to figure out how to do some of the things that the folks here are doing in Europe, do some of those things in the U.S., and then vice versa.
Okay, Andrea, if I can turn to you now. You've been, you were chair for 4 years for the EANM Technologist Committee, and you're now past chair. How did the award ceremony go today, and what were the main topics that participants were presenting?
So the award and over session just happened some minutes ago, It's fresh information we have here now. So we had very much quality work this year. And
are you implying that there wasn't quality work in the past?
No,
Be careful.
No, but in fact, what we've seen is really good, and the topics reflect the evolution of the field. So we have had awards that are works that are optimizing practice. Technologists are worried about optimizing every single task that they are performing, and that reflects on the work. And also Theranostics has been touched there, and competencies and all of that, and people are worried with this, and this is good at thinking and developing the fields.
So what's the overall technologist program then?
So the technologist program this year was very diverse in terms of topics. We have touched Theranostics because it's an important
been around for a while.
Topic for the field now, but also other, like even some minutes ago as well, thyroid, some topics that are kind of old, but they need to be revisited to improve practice every day. So it's mainly evolution, getting better, and going in depth into Theranostics to prepare the professionals.
I mean, Dmitry is obviously very positive about the potential for the collaboration and stuff. How do you think you each benefit from it?
Well, we have talked a lot last year, also during SNM meeting and this meeting too, and we understood that even though there are many differences in practice, there are also very similarities in terms of challenge. So instead of doing everyone alone in their own place, we are trying to develop common strategies to educate people. And so we're learning from what they are doing, and they are also kind of doing the same all around by coming here.
I mean, there's one key difference perhaps in that in Europe there are different countries that have different levels of the technology that's available to them. How do you deal with that, and what can be learned for other countries that are far more resourced, if you like?
Well, Roy, I must say that that's our biggest challenge.
Yeah.
So how much diverse is education throughout all Europe? We can find completely different realities, and that will reflect also in the practice of the professionals after education. Somehow they also have their own challenges, but that's the problem. So that's why we need to develop documents of best practice. We already did it with EQF6, the entry-level competencies document, and we are currently working on EQF7, so advanced. So we have to kind of find a way to make it the same level for everyone, so we can pursue the same objectives. And
so would you find that people with lower budgets and lower resources actually have to be far more innovative in terms of what they do?
Yeah, many times they have to do with less resources.
Yeah,
Yes.
Exactly. So
exactly.
what have you noticed the differences?
It's actually quite good to come to Europe or to come to Australia and to see how people deliver medicine in different parts of the world. Because the problems, when you first look at the way that U.S. medicine is being done, you think of it all as maybe an academic medicine or community medicine, but we have actually very similar challenges. I mean, the United States has plenty of folks in the community, plenty of folks in rural America. And so some of the solutions that these guys are doing here in Europe, how they're delivering medicine, how they're using different isotopes to come to patients that are in need, where the resources aren't there. Because some of the resources that we have to deal with is there a cyclotron in the area? Can you get the technetium-99 by way of a reactor over to the areas? And so it's been great to learn from our international global partners, because some of the things that they have figured out here, we are attempting to bring to the United States. And me, in my role as the president of the technologist section, I have been taking notes now for 12 months, and now we're actually trying to introduce some of these topics and having conversations with industry as well to say, hey, they're doing this in this particular country. Why can't we take that to a certain state in the U.S.?
The financial model in the US is very different to the different models that exist in Europe. Is nuclear medicine seen as a particularly expensive elite form of diagnosis and therapy in the US?
That's a really good question, Roy, and it would probably take us hours and hours to truly be able to answer it.
But that is one of the fundamental differences.
It's a fundamental difference, and really right now the U.S. is going through a process with Medicare where we're trying to figure out how to fund nuclear medicine and the isotopes long term. So it's a big difference. It's not necessarily seen as elite, because some of the other modalities that we work with is MRI. There are very expensive exams there as well. The big thing for us is that we have to figure out how to prove that this changes people's lives and that it improves the quality of life and the longevity of people's lives. Because of the fact that these position papers are coming out and because of the fact that we're able to work together, I think we have become more successful in proving to our respective government that our science should be funded.
Okay, Andrea, final word, if I may, you need the microphone for this. How do you see the collaboration moving forward, and how do you think each of you can benefit?
So we think that working together and writing some position papers or writing some articles and that together will benefit both groups. We can learn from one another, and also participating in each other's session, and where we can bring how things are done in one way and the other will definitely benefit, because we are doing the same, just in different places, different challenges, but we are doing the same exams and we can learn.
And you're all trying to achieve the same objectives.
The same objectives, that's it.
Andrea, Dmitry, thank you very much indeed for joining me. It's been great to talk to you. That's wonderful. All right. Valentina Ambrosini is a member of the Oncology and Theranostics Committee, and earlier today my colleague Kate Sturgis met up with her to ask her about the topic.
So what we're going to be doing now is just taking a little roundup of people who've been kind enough to talk to us on EANM TV during the week, and also other people, see what their impressions have been of this year's Congress. Now, Valentina, I know you've only just started in your new role, as you were talking to Roy about, and you've been very, very busy. But what's been your impression of the Congress as a whole?
I think the whole thing about coming to such a big conference is the opportunity to see and update on many different topics. Of course, the ones that actually we see much in our clinical daily life are more represented, but actually there are lots of sessions of basically everything. And it's a great opportunity to interact, and especially for the younger generation, it's a way to see how the field is moving, and to get to know other people, even from different centers, and to see different experiences. So I think it's a great opportunity for them to be here, and for us too.
And for me, nuclear medicine is a fairly new topic, and it's been fantastic to go around and discover everything and to hear. My impression is it's moving so fast that events like this are very important. How do you think people respond to events like this?
I think they're very engaged, and it's true that nuclear medicine is moving. It actually, with the theranostic field, probably is reaching out to a more complex role of the nuclear medicine physician, who was traditionally started as merely someone involved mostly in imaging, but now the theranostic component has grown exponentially in the past decade and probably years, considering the registration times of new radiopharmaceuticals. So I think that the new role of the nuclear medicine physician must be in imaging and treatment.
Well, I know you've got a very busy day ahead of you, and thank you so much for giving me your time. Enjoy the rest of the Congress, and I hope to see you sometime during the rest of the day.
Sure.
Valentina, thank you.
Thank you, Valentina, and thank you, Kate. Now, you may remember from last year, Judit A made a lot of vlogs that related to EANM 22. Here is a little reminder of what she did, in this case, talking to Valentina Garabotto about what she was working on at that time.
Stefano has suggested that you just skip all oncology and do everything on neurology. What do you think of that?
Oh, well, we will have another view, sure, but I agree with Stefano. Oncology is important, and we like it. We like oncology, we like neurology, we like all nuclear medicine and the multidisciplinary approach. So don't be sad. EANM is going to be back in Vienna in September 2023 with a good vibe and a lot of science and fun. Stay tuned.
Well, that is certainly what happened, and Judit A has joined me now. Judit is a nuclear medical physician in Amsterdam University Medical Center, and also guideline representative for oncology and theranostics on their committee. So thank you very much indeed for joining us now. So what's happened in the last 12 months?
Well, I used to be guideline representative. There is somebody else doing it now. Yeah, it was never a dull moment. It's been a busy year scientifically, lots of educational activities preparing for next year's educational activities.
Which is now this year.
Which is this year. I start in January, so that's why. And we even squeezed in a little bit of scoring for the EANM abstracts, and lot has happened. Busy clinical practice, and also my family life had to fit in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do they remember what you look like? I mean, did they see you very much over a period of time?
I think so. I think so.
Now, you created a lot of media content in the last year. Why do you think that helps spread the word about nuclear medicine?
So the whole idea about the short interviews was to have a different way of changing knowledge. So I realized when I go to a congress, I sometimes lose track, like as all of us do, but not everybody admits it. So I just wanted to highlight things that you would not necessarily go to, like a highlight lecture or a big CME. Starting researchers showing their work, and just to be short and firm, and like a short thing that you can watch while queuing for coffee or hamburgers. And I think we achieved what we wanted. It took off. I mean, this year I didn't have time, but you obviously continue.
So I was standing in for you because you were too busy. Oh, right, okay. I now know where I am.
That's how it works. No, of course not. But I'm very happy to see that it goes on, that there is need for this kind of change of information. I'm planning to use it in my educational activities, and I already heard word from the Theranostics and Oncology Committee that the youth is also interested to go and do this kind of short interviews to have more interaction, short interaction. And I hope we were planning to do it for the young audience. This year's Congress is all about approaching the youth, approaching our future, and I really hope
making it as relevant as possible.
Yes, and
not only because they're young, but because this is a massive career opportunity for everyone.
Sure.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. I was thinking about EANM earlier on. I thought EANM is very definitely a community, but it's like a family of 7,000, and I've never known a family of 7,000 people. But how do you think this Congress actually plays such a big role in terms of what EANM does and its sense of a community?
But it's a very nice thing that you mentioned. I always wanted to have a big family. I mean, I didn't count on 7,000, but it's a lot of cooking and washing, and washing and folding up, which is one of my favorite tasks at home. But yeah, so I think it has several aspects. I think it's very actual. So the subjects, the lectures, the whole thing is very actual, very inspirational, you know, content-wise. But also the personal aspect is very important. So the board is very close to the members. The organizing committee of the Congress is very close to the members. If I personally realized last year I had this idea, and I went to Stefano, and he said, "You go, girl." And
so that was a yes.
Yeah, that was a yes.
I'll just translate.
Yes.
That, yes.
So that means that if you have an idea, that you have space to work it out, and that feels like a supportive family. And also how, you know, the youth is supported. Valentina said in the opening ceremony that this year's Congress is about the future, and the future are our children, and that is also very plausible. You feel that there is a support system for the young professionals, and that's part of it that we feel as a family.
Yeah. What would you like everyone, at whatever age, whatever level of experience, to do to promote the story of nuclear medicine? Because in all the years that I've been involved and working with people, it's always been a bit of a secret story. That is changing, but would you like more people to start banging the drum about nuclear medicine from within nuclear medicine?
I think it's a very good question. I don't know about begging, but I think that everybody should take his or her own responsibility how to promote our profession. We have a fantastic field. It's absolutely an example of interprofessional collaboration. You can use it as an example for your interprofessional educational activities, which I'm planning to. You can go to your tumor board and stand up, chin up, and present something as a participant, not some supportive system who is handy with the computers. And every one of us have a role in that. Every one of us can take himself or herself seriously and teach something to the young generation and show that we do count.
Yeah, Judith, thank you very much indeed for joining us today. And thank you for sort of breaking barriers last year by bringing in something new, you know, which was great. And it also led to me having a job.
Thank you.
Michel, if I can invite you to come in now. Michel Koole has joined us as well. Thank you very much indeed for sitting there so attentively over the last few minutes. Medical physicist, and you're involved in this as a scientific liaison for EANM. You've just been co-chairing a policy meeting here at the Congress with Dmitry.
Yeah.
What was that about, and how did it go?
Well, actually, I just came out of the meeting, and we were really surprised about the attendance, actually, because the room was fully packed. People even have to stand up, actually.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic. And last year we had the same meeting, and we only had a few people. So I think that shows that policy making is getting more and more important, and yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't say this, but I was actually having a chat with Wim earlier on, and he was talking about the upcoming session. He said, maybe there's only going to be about 20 people there.
I know.
So
and we were really a bit scared, and that's
why. So that's fantastic. Great. Okay. Why do you believe that having policies and clear communication with the EU is so important? I was talking to Wim about it, but I'd love to hear what you think.
Yeah. So the EU is actually like a big ship, and it's very difficult to change courses over big ships. So it has to be done over time. You need to spend a lot of time and energy into changing the course so that it's supporting nuclear medicine also for the future. And so basically what we are trying to do, we try to bring together all stakeholders, make sure that we align the vision of all these stakeholders, and that we can speak with one voice to the EU so that we can deliver a clear message.
All right, what are you talking to them about radiopharmaceuticals?
Well, so basically there were 2 points there. So first of all, there is the supply of radioisotopes. So a radiopharmaceutical is made out of a radioisotope, but also of a kind of a drug, which is linked to the radioisotope. So first of all, we are discussing the supply of radioisotopes, and that can be challenging job actually, because
there
we
are
are
all sorts of policies related
yes,
to
indeed,
the
and
movement of nuclear
yes,
materials.
and actually at the moment we are a bit we are having a bit of shortage of key radioisotopes. So that's also something that we want to address and that we want to avoid for the future. And then of course we also have the synthesis. So we also have to make sure that we have still the capacity of manufacturing the radiopharmaceuticals, so not only the radioisotope but also the radiopharmaceuticals. And in the past we allowed each site to make some of these radiopharmaceuticals in-house, very close to the patient. And so we really want to make sure that we can preserve this, that we can preserve in-house manufacturing of radiopharmaceuticals, because that also drives to some extent the innovation, you know. So that's quite important. That's why we are reaching out to the EU actually to support this.
As far as the EU is concerned, is nuclear medicine good nuclear or bad nuclear?
Oh, definitely it's good nuclear, yeah, definitely.
And
we
what
are
do they
helping
say?
patients. Well, I think we should still increase the awareness actually that is good in nuclear. But we are, and that's also why we are reaching out, and also some of the points that you were mentioning actually are very important. But definitely we still need to reach out also to the general public, because also not all people know about the potential of nuclear medicine. And also from the EANM we are quite aware of this, and we are even thinking about even going to high schools, you know, and to even at that level make young people aware of the potential and of the benefits of nuclear medicine.
All right. I think you've got half an answer to my next question already when you said that the room was full and standing room only. What else would need to happen for you to know that your policy work has been successful?
Yeah, well, that's a bit a tricky thing because it goes so slow actually. So it's very difficult to have some tangible results or to say now it has been successful. But I think like if we can speak with one voice, if we can get heard by the EU, and if they are giving us a supportive environment for innovation and for patient care, such that like all patients have easy access to high quality nuclear medicine services throughout Europe, then I think that the mission is accomplished, so to speak.
Can I ask you to change hands with your microphone just for a second?
Yeah.
And will you hold up your other wrist, and can you tell us what that bracelet is?
Oh yeah, so today also we had the Young Professional launch.
Why are you wearing them? They wouldn't give me one of those because I'm too old.
Yeah, so basically that's a launch where young professionals can gather together, network, discuss a bit what they, some of their issues, you know.
You gave a talk today.
And I gave
That's
a talk,
what I'm doing.
yeah.
So what was the talk about? And I mean, again, you know, it was very busy. So you're having a good day.
Yeah, quite busy day, yeah.
What did you talk about, and what were the sorts of questions that you were asked?
Yes, so I was talking a bit about my professional life so far. So first I started in academics. I got a PhD, then I moved to industry, and then I moved back to academics. So that's a quite an unusual trajectory, so to speak. So I got a lot of questions about that actually. Also the difference between the academics and the private industry. So I got a lot of questions about that, but I think, well, and they are dealing with the same questions that we were having at that age. And
yeah, but they're a lot faster, and it's moving much more.
Much faster,
yeah, exactly. So, so no, the feedback I had was that people thought it was really, really helpful. So, you know, thanks on their behalf, and thank you for the policy work. So, as I say, you've been very busy today, and now you've joined us for this as well. So it's been great.
Yeah.
So it's been great to talk to both of you. Thank you very much indeed. That brings this program to a close for today. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:30 Central European summertime for our final EANM TV show. So join us live. We've also been receiving some feedback on this new innovation, and we found that a lot of people are using catch-up. So if you can't catch us live, don't worry about it. It will be available on catch-up as well. Hope you have a great evening. Hope you do too. See you bright and early tomorrow morning. Good night.